Knew the second of your two Afterman albums, right?
Yes.
And that was Dissension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just came out. That was awesome. Coheed and Cambria. Nice job, guys. Glad
Thank
you're
you.
here. Thank you. Radio 92.9. I'm Amy. And so the Amory Wars. How did you come to become these guys who tell like a comic book sci-fi story through music? Like how did... That's not a usual direction that a band takes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah.
It's wonderful, and I think it makes you guys obviously tremendously unique and appealing, but also niche-y, right? Is it hard to get your message out to the masses?
Well, not so much. I mean, when I created the idea in 1998, I did it because I became the singer of a band, and in writing the lyrics for that band, I had a hard time really kind of confessing my story. You know, I didn't want to give too much of myself away. I wanted to feel, I guess, a bit mysterious, and also because I was kind of shy, you know. And so when I took this trip to
Well, that's
Paris,
all changed now. You're doing great.
Well, I'm still a bit shy. Actually.
You have no choice, dude.
But,
this is not a shy venue. Yeah.
But I decided, you know, because I would take these songs and these lyrics, I would sort of create these fictitious stories, though they were still about me. You know, I thought, well, if I was ever so lucky enough to make records, maybe I'll do a story that'll sort of have this cohesive thread that'll, you know, kind of travel through the albums. And that's basically what I did. And, you know, all of the characters are very much based on real people. Coheed and Cambria are based on my mother and father. I actually,
Really?
you know, accidentally play a role in the story. I didn't realize when I wrote the song "Everything Evil" that I said my name in the lyrics, that I had to become an actual character.
But that did it. Yeah, that's
But like everyone, like, you know, like the fact that there are 78 planets in the keywork. 78 was the year I was born. Mayo, Deft and Wolf. Mayo was a dog that my grandfather had. You know, just these little hints that sort of lead to, you know, a reality that sort of sits behind the fiction.
Yeah, that's actually a question of mine. I was going to ask, how much is this real? Obviously, it's fiction all the way through, but apparently not.
I mean, yeah, no, it's very real. I mean, I think if you listen to if you listen to a song like "Dark Side of Me," it's not like a Rush's 2112 where the narrator is giving you everything. Like, you know what I mean? It's not. There's no science fiction descriptions. They're very universal themes where I think any listener can sort of fit themselves in the position of the character. And I think that's what makes the message so easy to digest. I mean, sure, at first glance, you say, oh, this band has a concept. It's a progressive rock band. It's a bit intimidating. But once you get to the song and the meat and the potatoes of what we do, it's easy to understand, really.
But then you pair it with the video and all the other media that you have, then, you know, that might influence that. But I think you're totally spot on. Like, you can listen to this as standalone album. You don't have to have it to be this big, like, thread.
You don't. And all of those other things are really there just for, you know, if you want that, if you want more of an experience, if you want something that's just kind of sort of transcends off of the album and becomes this other thing, it's there, you know.
Right. Good. Awesome. So tell us about, how is Mark Wahlberg and is it Steve Levinson too involved? What happened? How does that awesome. Well, you're gonna make a film, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, for a while, you know, with any comic book property, there becomes an interest in Hollywood, and so for a while, I was actually pitching these ideas myself for a minute, you know, just to see what would happen, and it actually turned out that somebody at Leverage was actually a fan of the band and a fan of the mythos, and decided to sort of bring it to the attention of those guys, and so they kind of fell on board, and that's that's what's happening right now, is just trying to figure out the right way to make this thing become real.
This full-length action film based on the Amory Wars that they obviously love. Can you imagine? I mean, that's just like,
pretty cool.
did you ever, like, when you started this whole thread and doing this, you're like, cool, we're going to be a full-length action movie one day. I mean, that's crazy. It's a big jump, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
No, that's not like a documentary on the band, you know, like...
In a strange way, it sort of is.
It sort of is, I see. Yes, with a pit of fire. And was Star Wars an influence at all for you guys?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it had to
be. You know, being a child of you know, the 80s, I mean, for sure. I mean, anything, you know, I think the 80s was certainly a great time for character-driven stories, certainly for children. I mean, you know, Star Wars, I mean, even, you know, Saturday morning cartoons, Transformers, G.I. Joe, whatever have you, and comic books, too. I mean, you know, there was so much to draw from, and these characters were so unique in these massive, worlds. I mean, you had like G.I. Joe was huge, like for me. Even He-Man, like
Right.
Snake Eyes, Shipwreck, Duke. They were all so individual, but yet they were unified as a team.
Right.
And that's same thing with like the X-Men or any of that
Well,
stuff.
and it
so.
still lives today. I mean, look how
it really
huge it
does,
is. It's
but-
like so huge. You can't. Another superhero is out there with another huge film, and
Yeah, I know.
you
It's
know,
it,
even if you weren't a fan as a kid, you may be now.
Yeah, well, and now it's like we're sort of our age is sort of put into those positions where we can make these things into features now.
Right.
Our love for these things in our childhood are now so relevant in our adulthood because it can make us money, I guess.
Let's just face it, Claudia, it all comes back to money.
Well, for the big studios,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Well,
that's
for them,
right.
all right.
the
No,
kids that grew up loving these things are the ones making the movies now.
true.
Which is
That's right.
exciting.
That is exciting.
I
They
think
they
so.
were able to transform what they always loved, right? And now they
Exactly,
can live that dream. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So I mean, what will happen? I mean, is this really gonna come into fruition? A full length feature film, action film, and what's the timeline on that?
I mean, right
And
now.
are you gonna need to write? I mean, you have already written so much, but you'd have to do screenplay.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think right now, I think our approach is.
I mean,
to
do you have
try
time for that? Look at you. I mean, you guys are busy.
I mean,
you're busy.
this is I
Okay.
get that question a lot.
Do
too,
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because with the comic books, with the toys, with the band, the music,
novel,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, it's not work for me, so it isn't
point.
really a stressful endeavor. I mean, this is what I love to do. My wife is actually a partner in a lot of the stuff that I do, so I'll wake up at like 5:00 in the morning and nudge her, and I'm like, "Hey, I got this idea for a story," and she'll
Totally
she'll
jump on
smack
board.
me.
Go back to bed. Talk to me in 5 hours.
So,
That's
but I just it's what I love to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
but I think for the movie, I mean, right now we just want to find people that are the right fit for it, that love it
Sure.
just as much as we do, and are going to do it justice and make
really
it the best
exciting.
it can be. So
Did you guys know that? There's a feature film in the works? Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. Okay, anyway, this is like it. Everybody knows that already. Okay, anyway. Why don't you put me out of my misery and play a song?